So what I feel like I see often is that many people who are perhaps interested in having better, deeper relationships are a little bit hesitant to really set out on a journey to that end, right? And what I hear from them is that I may have an idea about how to improve my relationships, right? How to make more friends, how to go on more dates, how to network in a different way. But what I am not sure about is how much time, effort, and energy I'll have to put in before I start seeing results, right? So it may be like, yeah, I could go out to the club more, but if I go out to a bar or club, there's no guarantee that I'm really going to meet people who I feel like align with me. And so, wouldn't it just be a waste for me to then go out to a bar or club? And there is never a guarantee of success, right? However, other areas of life, it may be more straightforward, right? I think the way a lot of people think about exercise and calories, it's kind of like, okay, there are a certain amount of calories in a pound, or if I burn a certain amount of calories, then I will lose a certain amount of pounds. And so, me exercising for a certain amount of time will lead to me burning a certain amount of calories, and burning a certain amount of calories will lead to weight loss, right? That these things are all very connected. It's very much kind of an equation or a formula. And so, therefore, it's very straightforward. Where if you change the inputs in a certain way, exercise a certain amount, then you will see a certain result in terms of weight loss or other fitness metrics, right? And that is very satisfying and gratifying in a way to know that a certain amount of time and effort put in will directly lead to a certain result in terms of output. What I have felt like myself with this social journey is that it's different for everyone, right? Everyone is at a different starting place. Everyone has a different perspective, a different way of interacting with the world. And so, as you're out interacting, as you're out trying to improve the quality and sometimes the quantity of your relationships, there is no set guarantee in terms of work on it for this amount of time and you will see a certain amount of results. Now, that being said, as I have seen a lot of other people develop, as I've developed myself, as I've read, about different people's experiences, as I've watched their videos on their channels and things like that, I do feel like there are averages. And I do feel like depending on how much you want to improve or, the level of where you're starting at to where you want to go, a certain average can be told to you, and that can be very insightful and very encouraging and comforting, right? So, for example, what I've seen is that going out about 3 to 6 months can get you going out regularly about 3 to 6 months, and regularly I would say, once or twice a week to more social situations, um, can and does lead to new friends being found, right? Now, again, this can vary depending on how much and how quickly you follow up with those friends and how much you talk to them when you're out and those sorts of things. So there are a lot of factors that go into this, but I would say that that is a good average, right? Now, in terms of extreme social success, in terms of being able to go anywhere and make friends, in terms of being able to go anywhere and create or enable certain romantic circumstances or outcomes, in terms of being able to go into any environment and network and find others who would be interested in doing business with you. That is a bigger ask, right? That requires more time. And what I've seen is that then you're going from months to the span of years. right? That can take about 2 to 3 years. And again, everyone has their own kind of timeline where they're starting from, their own blockages, and even what changes these kind of numbers and averages greatly is the time that you put in, right? That if you are going more often and more consistently, I feel like that ends up having a kind of compounding effect where, certain successes here build on the successes of the past few days or past few weeks, and then it allows you to get to even higher levels more quickly. And there's a certain amount of momentum that comes with it as well, which can be tremendously helpful if you are going about this in a very consistent, very dedicated way. So, all in all, while I'm sharing these averages to help kind of allay some of those fears or concerns or uncertainties, right? To try and give you a better idea of what it would take, what it would look like to improve your relationships in a really meaningful way. What I would also say is that the map is not the territory, right? That even if I could sit with you for some time, listen to your specific kind of perspective, hear about get an idea of your kind of experience level, hear about where certain things are going wrong or not as well with your relationships, your friendships, things like that. It would give me a better idea in terms of timelines and what it would take specifically to help you. However, even hearing about this, even hearing about your specifics, the journey to improving will still depend on many different factors, right? And so, even if I could give you a very specific, hey, for you, this will take 1 year, that what I could not give you is this is what every night of that year will look like, right? I could say, hey, this is the end point in terms of you getting to where you want to get to and the timeline it would take. But how you would feel throughout that time as you're developing these relationships, as you're creating new ones, as you're making new friends, as you're having different business opportunities presented to you, as you're pitching your business opportunities to others, as you're hearing their ideas, as you're going on more dates, as you're getting a deeper one-on-one connection with a romantic interest, as you're hooking up maybe a little bit more as well. Right. These things will shape you along the way. And so it's something that ultimately you'll have to learn and develop through experience, right? These videos are meant to be a help, right? Me sharing the timeline is meant to help you, is meant to give you a better idea of what it will look like, the different questions that will come up, so that you are more prepared to navigate them when they do come up. However, as I said, the map is not the same thing as the territory. Even if I could point out different roadblocks, even if I could tell you the direction to go in, even if I could tell you how long the trip is going to be, your experience on that trip and on that journey is going to be unique to you. And so keep this in mind, right? As you are wanting these better relationships, keep in mind that it will take time and effort and energy. But what I also encourage and find helpful to those like you, and what was helpful for me as well, is just that realization that, hey, I may have a North Star that guides me along the way. I may be able to solicit the help of others to help me navigate, but this is a journey that I will have to go on, and that will shape me as I am going on the journey. Right? These different experiences that I'm having night to night or week to week will help influence how I'm then showing up in the next week. And so try and find comfort in that, right? Try and find that to be fun. Try and find that to be exciting, right? Try and find that to be a real adventure, right? When you look at it from this perspective as opposed to a source of uncertainty, when you can look at it with that excitement, when you can look at it as adding to the fun, that will help put you in the mindset that then will help you succeed over the long term, right? And that is what I want for you. I want all the success that you want for you, right? I want you to have these better relationships. I want you to have more money. I want you to have high quality friends. I want you to have a partner in life that supports you, uplifts you, and helps you get closer to being your best self. And that is why I'm sharing this video. That's why I've made the channel. I hope you take it on board, and I wish you the very best. Take care.